But first and foremost, let's get into this update. Starting off with talking about Vicario, as the Bleacher Report is saying that Tottenham are open to selling Vicario this summer. And should Spurs allow Vicario to leave the club, Thomas Frank, get this one, could either bring in a new goalkeeper or he could stick with what he's got.
Well, there is the two options. Yeah, it's got to be one of the great reporting there. Which one will it be? So who reported that? I missed that.
The Bleacher Report.
The Bleacher Report. Yeah, look, as I've said, I think ever since Frank got linked with us, I've always got the feeling Kinski might be better fit for his system. But we know Vicario, he's number one. I know he's had a bit of a dodgy spell this last season in the last few games. But I think by and large, people just for some reason forget that since he's come to Tottenham, by and large, he's been brilliant and a very good goalkeeper. And I know in his first season, he went through again a dodgy spell. Where he kind of struggled from set pieces, and the Arsenal game, he had that game where he got bullied and we were 3-0 down and that kind of stuff. And he was going through a spell where set pieces are being targeted. But I think he kind of got over that a bit. And then for some reason, back end of last season, it wasn't even about set pieces. He was just having some dodgy moments, like poor shot stopping moments. But in the Europa League, obviously, he was really, really good. And so I think he's a really good goalkeeper. And I do think he's a very good shot stopper. And I think he's, for some reason, been underrated ever since he's come here to Tottenham by opposition fans, or maybe because he was cheap and not well known. But I think he's been pretty good since he's come in. But yeah, at the end of the day, if we do get a really good offer, then it depends what that offer is. Maybe we'll consider it, but I still think he's going to start the season as a number one, and I do think he's going to be here. I just find it unlikely we're going to get an offer that's worth selling him for.
Yeah, I agree with you on all what you're saying. I can't really see Vicario leaving this summer. However, once it comes to pre-season, right, and all the players are there, and let's say Frank is really impressed with Kinski, selling Vicario will actually do wonders for the squad numbers, because he's a player that we didn't expect to leave. So if an offer
if we don't replace him with a keeper, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. But let's say like Frank is really impressed with Kinski and straight from the off he wants to give him a go. It might be worth selling him this summer just for a squad number basis.
Yeah, but then do we trust, if we're not replacing him, do we trust Kinski, Austin, and then probably Keeley next season with Champions League football? Do we trust that, or do we need a more experienced goalkeeper to come in and challenge Kinski? I guess that's a decision we have to make. I think on the face of it, probably we do, I would say. So I don't know if get Whiteman back. Like, I don't know if it's good enough that those. I know Keeley's very talented, and I know Kinski's young and has been all right, but are any of them ready for Champions League football?
Yeah, it's a big question mark. That's why I'm saying it only has to be if once Frank gets them in for pre-season and he thinks, he can move forward with it. Like, in my opinion, I think we should be keeping Vicario, and he should be fighting for that spot and saying, you know what, I'm the most experienced keeper here. I've got leadership ability, and it's on him to kind of improve his distribution and with the ball at his feet. And if he can do that, then, we won't want to sell him, will we? Because he's an unbelievable shot stopper and one of the best in the league. So maybe Frank can develop that side of his game.
Yeah, I hope so. And he's going to be asked to kind of do some different things, Vicario, to what he was asked under Ange. Under Ange, was pretty much, yes, he had to be competent out the back, but it was very much just short passes to the centre backs or to the fullback. With under Frank, from what we've seen anyway, at Brentford, very much a lot used to a lot longer passes. In fact, I think Flecken played more long passes apart from Raya, I think, than any other goalkeeper in the league. So that is, and I think we played the least. Vicario didn't play; he played barely any. So that's going to be the switch up. And from what we've seen, Kinski seems more adept at that.
Yeah. So look, I like we said before on the stream that we did earlier today, I feel like it will be Vicario. I don't think they'll entertain offers for him this summer unless it's like, an offer that you can't refuse. But I think maybe throughout this, as the season goes on, and potentially next summer, we could look to sell him. But I don't think it will come this summer. So that's the Vicario situation. More on Son Heung-min. We did cover it a little bit in the stream, but we thought we'd bring it to you in a Tottenham update as well, as Ben Jacob says that 3 Saudi clubs have inquired about Son and are willing to play 40 million euros plus add-ons. Spurs have huge respect for Son and won't force him out, even if a lucrative bid arrives. Sebastian Vidal says that Al Ahly, Al Nasser, and Al Qadisa are ready to offer 40 million euros and nearly 500 grand a week wages for Son.
500. I mean, that shows that obviously the pool, and we know how they're desperate to bring him there. Obviously, that's a good look on the face of it. It's a good deal for Tottenham. 50 million. What was it? 50 million? You said 40 million?
40 million euros, like 35 million pounds.
It's a decent deal, I guess, on that front, but it's pretty decent. But obviously, for Son, that kind of money, I guess you could argue, and if you wait till he could still kind of get that, can't he? So, will he be desperate to take it? I don't know. I just don't think he wants to go Saudi just yet.
Yeah, but like if that offer is on the table right here, right now, like obviously you can always have in your mind saying, yeah, but that offer will still be there in a year's time. But the way he's thinking, if Tottenham accept the offer and he's got 500 grand a week on the table, that just might be too difficult to refuse, surely.
He's willing to go Saudi, but he's always said he doesn't make kind of decisions based around money, and we know that he has a lots and lots of lucrative deals out in South Korea when it comes to sponsorships and stuff, which I don't think he's worried about money and 500 grand a week. I think he's got enough that he doesn't have to make decisions based on that. But it is 500 grand a week. And it's maybe he won't get that opportunity again. I guess that is possible. So I think if Tottenham accept it and are willing to let him go for that, maybe he's thinking that it could be the right time to go there. But I still think he wants another season at the top level.
I agree with that. Maybe even a couple of seasons. I still think he's got it in him. But like I said before, I'll be distraught if Son was to leave the club. I still think he's got a lot to give the club. And I think a year under Frank, I think he could do a lot better in terms of impacting games than what he did last season. Obviously, he still have to manage his minutes, manage his workload within games as well. But I still think he has a lot to give this football club. And I think it'll be the wrong decision to let him leave this summer. I really do. Next up, we're going to talk about Bryan Mbeumo, as Rudy Galetti says that Tottenham have now cooled their interest in Mbeumo after understanding the player only wants Manchester United. Spurs see it as almost impossible to overtake Man United in the race at this stage. And yeah, I kind of had a feeling that these kind of reports were about to come.
Yeah, I think, look, Rudy Galetti, I don't think is the most reliable, but I also think there is probably some truth to it. We know that Mbeumo's always wanted United. That's always been the report, even with the ones about hijacking. The only one we had was from Sky Sports saying that he's more intrigued with the Tottenham project now that Frank's there, but he still leans toward Man United. As I've said and consistently say, and as long as that deal isn't done with Man United, there's a chance, and I still believe that. So, but also I think from Tottenham's point of view, you can't wait around for an answer from Mbeumo. If he's holding out for Man United, you do have to move on from other targets. And I think it's just a case of if Man United, for one reason or another, don't get the deal done, then you can kind of go back to it and swoop in. But right now, if you're just not getting a firm answer from him and he's like basically saying no right now, you got to move on and not try and rely on him.
Yeah, which is frustrating because he is Frank's guy. And I thought maybe there's a chance with Frank, albeit my kind of opinion was always that he probably was going to join Man United. But when the rumour mill started going over the last week, I sort of had a bit of hope. But yeah, look, we'll see if anything changes on that front. But right now, the latest rumours are that Spurs have cooled their interest in Bryan Mbeumo. But more positive talks on Antoine Semenyo, as journalist Sebastian Vidal says that Tottenham are increasingly confident of signing Semenyo. Spurs have intensified talks with the Bournemouth winger's entourage. Semenyo is valued at £60 million. And we did hear over the last week that if Mbeumo doesn't choose Spurs, Semenyo will be our number one choice and target.
Yeah, we've heard that from a few people, and I really like Semenyo, and I think he's done really well the last couple of years at Bournemouth. He seems to be improving. I think he's got some qualities that we don't really have in the squad in terms of a bit of like, not ruthlessness, but a willingness, I would say, to just shoot from a lot of angles and kind of that willingness to take people on, commit players, can play both sides, is pretty good on both feet as well. So he's got a lot of attributes. Has to improve certain aspects of his game. And I think under Frank, he could refine him. I think that he's done that. So what he's done with a lot of other forwards. So I do think he's, I wouldn't say right now from what I've seen, he's like a player who's going to be a star in the Champions League kind of level. But like, he's a really good player and has a lot of qualities that I think if in the right system and if he's kind of reined in a bit, he could be a player could easily be getting 15 to 20 goals for us.
I agree with that, and I think Frank is the perfect manager to refine those skills and to develop him into a top winger in the Premier League. I think like he's kind of below that stage at the moment, kind of a level below the top wingers in the Premier League right now, but he could be pushing on the door with the right direction, the right coaching, and the right tactical methods. So yeah, I do welcome the signing of Semenyo. I think he can be a really good player for us, but I do think Son is the better player right now. And if we are selling Son to bring in Semenyo, I'm just not 100% sure how I feel about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I think Son is a better player. Semenyo's obviously got more chance to improve, whereas Son is, we know how good he is. He's only getting worse, not better. And also Semenyo can kind of play both wings. Son's never really been great on the right. He's only really either stuck on the left or up front. So I can see the value, but I wouldn't say we improve massively with Semenyo coming in. I agree.
And last but not least, this is on the Brazilian right back Vanderson. A Brazilian publication, UOL, claimed that Tottenham are interested in signing Monaco right back Vanderson during this summer transfer window. The 25-year-old has been linked with a move to the Premier League in the past and is on the radar of Barcelona as well. According to the report, Tottenham have decided to spend heavily on the player to win the race for his signature. Tottenham are long-term admirers and they want to sign the player. They did want to sign the player last season as well. He's currently valued by Monaco at 35 million euros, which is like 30 million pounds or give or take. We know we've got Porro. We know we've got Jed Spence. We know we've got a doggy. Do they think Jed Spence is a left back? Do they think he's a right back? I think that's quite significant in the talks for Vanderson if they are true. If they do consider him as a left back, I mean, what set of fullbacks that is with Vanderson and Porro on the right and a doggy and Spence on the left.
Well, they must, if they want to bring in Vanderson, they must see Spence as a left back, unless Spence is leaving. But I think that's probably unlikely. So we know Vanderson, Tottenham have looked at him for a while and have really liked him. We know that. I think last summer there was a lot of rumours that Tottenham were very interested in Vanderson. He's got really good qualities. I really like him. I think he's done brilliant at Monaco. Again, it just comes down to squad numbers, I guess. Like, is there a space for him, depending on who else leaves? Because right now we were looking at the squad and we didn't even consider like bringing in a fullback, really. Maybe a hybrid left back and centre back. But to bring in Vanderson, who's another right back, all of a sudden that limits who you can get in and causes more complications. So it's just difficult to think about signing someone who's a specified right back and think we're going to have also space to get another winger in and another midfielder in and maybe a striker in and all these kind of things. It's difficult to think about, but on the face of it, I do like Vanderson, and it would be really good for the squad to have that competition at right back.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need to bring in, unless we're saying Archie Gray is one of the options at fullback next season. We're going to need to bring in someone because we're leaving ourselves too short, aren't we, at fullback? Unless you say it's a centre back that can play there multiple positions. I mean, is that what we're just going to be forced to go for this season? Just very versatile players?
Yeah, I think so. Unless we get, as Brian says, unless we get Kyle Walker-Peters. And then we don't have to be limited.
He's not the required quality, though. That's the problem.
But he's a body.
Is that what we're going for now? Just bodies?
Well, we got a lack of them. We got a lack of squad space.
which is mad. Why is no other club going through the issues that we go through?
They must have more club trained players.
So I was looking at the European season. Like Chelsea went into the Conference League with 21, Man City went into the Champions League with 22, but they just all seem to have just options all over the pitch all the time.
Maybe they're smarter with what kind of players who can play multiple positions. Well, we've got Gray, but other than that, got Spence, but not many other players, I guess. Or maybe we're just overthinking it and thinking it's a bit too much of an issue than it really is. I don't know, but I can't really see how we are, judging by how we've gone through the squad.
Yeah. Look, it's very difficult. Maybe Spencer's going to have to be left out the European squad again. I don't know how he'll be about that, but yeah, it would be disastrous, to be honest. But look, that is the update that we have for you. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now it's your favorite time of the day, the time to bring on Brian Daigle. Let's bring him on. Let's have a quick chat amongst yourselves while I get this up.
It's the most wonderful time of the day.
It is, mate. I have to say, late night WeAreTottenhamTV is where it's at